right, well, let's get started. It looks like most everybody that signed in is signing in. I haven't gotten any emails from anybody saying that they can't hear us or see us or are having trouble signing in. So I think we're ready to go here. So we'll kick it off. Once again, thanks everyone. Mike Dawkins from WorldCast Anglers here. Tonight we have a virtual drift boat and trailer clinic with our buddies from Adipose Boatworks and Justin Waayenberg. These guys are great friends of ours. They make great boats. They're based in Helena, Montana. They make sort of a hybrid skiff model type drift boat, as well as they're producing some South Fork skiffs, which are pretty famous for our area around the greater Jackson Hole region. So we've got a bunch of great stuff to talk about, types of boats and oars, trailers, dynamics of those different types of boats, a little bit of rowing, some maintenance, questions and answers, and things along those lines. So I'll leave it to Justin. Once again, Justin, thanks for doing this for us and committing your time to educating us about your guys' boats, drift boats in general, rowing, maintenance, and things along those lines.
Right on. Yeah, I appreciate it, Mike. Thanks to WorldCast for reaching out and having me having us do this. And thanks for all of you. Same thing, taking your time, learning a little bit. I think stuff like this can go a long way for the fisheries and just for people in general. So getting a good foundation when you hit the water, and then from there just learning more and more. Mike kind of went over a little bit of what we do, and then so I'm the general manager of Adipose Boatworks. We build custom drift boats to order in Helena here. Right now we produce about 80 boats a year. Everything we do is custom to order, like I mentioned. And then we sell used boats. We do drift boat repair. We do trailer maintenance. We sell everything that goes with drift boats. We're busy, and I again appreciate you guys joining us in these crazy times. It's gonna be a little interesting doing this clinic via the web. Normally something like this is definitely where you want to learn in person and immediately put what you've learned into action and kind of adjust from there. And so what I'm going to go over today is really, it's going to vary from basic, like 101, all the way up to some advanced skills and advanced stuff. Hopefully you guys can all at least pick one thing from this. And to start, the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over the differences in boats and like what is a drift boat. Drift boats, like quick background, they kind of started McKenzie River style, which would be like a really traditional dory style with a lot of rocker, pointy bow, pretty narrow back, and then just at first they were really used to go from spot to spot, and then people started fishing from them, and then so on and so forth. And from the very beginning till now, technology with fiberglass boats and all the boats out there has really come a long ways, and we have some examples here that we're going to show you first. So this boat here, just pivot the handle.
Oh, okay.
So this is actually one of our competitors' boats. This is a hide. This is a very traditional dory design boat. As you can see, hopefully you guys can see all this. As you can see, that boat has a lot of rockers, we call it. So the front, a lot of flare up in the front, and then quite a bit of flare in the back. Really pointy bow, higher sides, and just a traditional design. We call that the football shape, or again, that traditional dory design. And then from there, we'll go to one of our boats we manufacture. And this one here is called our Runoff Model. Our Runoff Model is our version of a high-sided boat. The boat that I just showed you is considered a high-sided boat, and a lot of people think of that boat as like one that can go through heavy whitewater, a lot of rapids, stuff like that. When we first came on the market, Tracy Allen, one of the founders of the company, he's kind of ingenious in the way that he came about with designs on the boats, and we took the best of some of the worlds and combined them in our models. But with this boat, so I'll turn it to its side real quick. So you can see the bow?
Yeah, good.
So the bow still has some rocker front to back, not a giant flare up into a pointy bow. There's a number of reasons why we don't like the true pointed bow. We kind of have a blunted design, a 3-point bow. It gives you a little bit more displacement with the boat when you hit water. So you get more lift instead of like knifing down into it. So this is, again, going to be our version of a high-sided boat. It's definitely not like what most people would think about. This boat here, you can handle class 2, class 3 rapids, no problem. Same thing with that boat. Each one's going to have their pros and cons, and we're a big fan of this design for maneuverability, stability, stuff like that. So the last boat that we're going to go through is the one that we're going to spend most of the time with today, and that's going to be the one behind me. It's a little bit tougher to tell reference-wise of this boat compared to the other ones because this one's on a trailer versus the carts. But this is, like Mike mentioned earlier, this is what we call a hybrid skiff. So a skiff design, which Mike also mentioned, the South Fork skiff, it's got a true pram style bow, so it's flat in the front, and then it's got really low sides, it's shorter, it's narrower, it doesn't have much rocker front to back at all. And the great thing about skiffs is that they track really well, and they row really well, and they perform in the wind really well. When you get 3 people in a boat, they don't perform as good because more weight equals lower draft, and the boat likes to plow at that point, and so it makes it a little bit tougher to row. And so what we did is we took a traditional drift boat design and we took a skiff design and we combined them, and we came up with this hybrid model. So when you look at it from the side, profile-wise, you'll think it's a skiff. It's just lower sides, not a lot of rocker, lower bow. But when you throw a tape measure to it and you start to measure the sidewall height, you start to measure the overall length, you start to measure and compare apples to apples in a way, this boat is a true full-size drift boat. 15 feet 4 inches long, and average side height's 20 inches. That probably doesn't mean much to most of you guys, but that's just kind of a baseline. Like most trout fishing boats are going to be in the 15 to 16 foot range, and then maybe when you get into some steelhead, salmon stuff, you're going to jump up into an 18-foot range. But most boats out there are going to be in that 16-foot range, plus or minus a little bit. And so with this design, you have a lot of stability because of the wide footprint on the water. We're 58 inches wide in the middle versus like 56 or 54 inches on another boat. Not as much rocker, so the boat doesn't sink down as much in the water. That's a big part of what we're going to talk about today, is because you can have as much sidewall as you want, but if your boat's drafting 6, 8 inches of water, then you're just losing all that freeboard, and then you lose safety, and then also all that boat's in the water, so that's resistance that you're rowing against in the water. So draft equals drag, and drag equals harder to row. So that's kind of like a quick rundown of some different models. I don't have a South Fork skiff in here at the moment. We're building a couple on the other side of the shop, but they're not finished. So we just went with these. From there, I had a few people, like before we started this whole thing, ask, we shot out some questions on social media and stuff. And someone wanted us to compare, like, okay, hard boat, fiberglass boat versus raft. Every boat's going to kind of have its place, and every boat's going to have its pros and cons. Like I kind of mentioned earlier, so a raft is going to do really well in freestones, rivers that get really low, rocky, gnarly rivers like that, or also like really heavy whitewater, because you can just bounce off rocks, or you can flip the thing and you're going to lose some gear, but you can kind of get it back up and it's going to float away and you're going to be all right. The downside to rafts is that the way that they're designed and the way that like rowing frames, for example, sit inside them too, because to be able to row them like a drift boat, you have to put a frame in them. They're not strong enough to just put oarlocks on like a hard boat. You're going to have a lot more line catchers, and that's a huge deal fishing from a drift boat. One of the main things when we go into designing is how is this going to affect the fly line? How is this going to affect your anglers? Things like that, because you want to make it as clean, as efficient as possible. And so big deal with rafts. Rafts also, like overall maneuverability, tracking wise, since they don't have a sharp chine, and we'll go into that a little bit later, it makes it harder to row and hold a line. And then the third thing would be wind. Like if you're in anywhere where it's flat water or windy, you're just going to get blown around like a leaf in a raft. But they do have their place. Like again, freestones, different spots where it's really rocky, shallow spots where you're going to be dragging a boat a lot. A raft is a great option. We obviously don't build rafts though, so we're going to mostly just talk about drift boats today and fiberglass boats for that matter. So next thing is we're going to kind of just talk some basic knowledge, basic descriptions of the boat, what people are going to talk about. So front of the boat, bow. Your bow is going to always be going downriver. And then you're going to have your transom of your boat. And then you're going to have your port side, which is your left side, and your starboard side, which is your right side. Really, in drift boats, no one uses port and starboard. It's just not a big enough boat to really make that big of a difference. Some guides may use that. Most people are just going to say right or left. And so that's kind of basics there. The stern of the boat, a lot of people, and us included, we actually refer to it as the transom of the boat. The transom of the boat is where your anchor system comes off of. It's going to carry your motor mounts, your plugs, things like that. So that's kind of just, again, basic info on the boat. From there, specific to drift boats, you're going to get into, and any boat you're going to row, then you're going to get into your oarlocks, your rower's position. The person in the middle of the boat is essentially the captain of the boat. So whatever they say, follow that person's lead. Like if they tell you to center up, meaning get in the center of the boat, you need to get in the center of the boat, because a lot of times it's for safety. A mismanaged / misbalanced boat is going to cause a lot of issues for rowing, for anchoring, things like that. It's definitely going to start to cause an issue. And a lot of what I'm going to go over today with the rowing stuff and anchoring later is really as much as I can do where I feel comfortable giving you guys some basic knowledge to be safe, because that's the biggest thing. We just want people to go out there to be confident enough to get down the river and be safe. And so that's really again, like captain, if the boat's off center and they tell you center up. And so oarlocks position. So from there, like I just kind of mentioned, you have your rower's position. They're going to sit there, your front angler, your rear angler. That's kind of where people sit in these style boats. Again, if you get in like a steelhead style boat or a salmon style boat, you may have 2 people sit up front and then no one sit in the back and just a person in the, and that's again a different style of fishing that people will use that for, pulling plugs or doing different things like that. But for our purposes and what we do, and really we'll just say 90% of hard boats, like that's where people are going to sit, how it's going to go. So from now we're going to kind of get into, before I get into rowing, the last thing that we're going to talk about on different boats, different things is different oars. So I'm going to have Aaron come over here with me real quick. So we have this stand here, and I'm going to go over kind of 4 different options, like the #1 things that we sell. We carry all Sawyer oars for our oar products. They're made out of Oregon. The quality's top notch. The fit and finish, the actual way that they function, the way that they row, the balance and stuff is definitely going to be the best. Our lowest end oar that we carry is going to be called a polecat oar. So this oar here, as you can see, is this black shaft is actually just fiberglass. So this fiberglass shaft, and then it's going to have a removable blade, and I'll talk about blades in a second, but this blade here just pops off. It's just a cheaper version, the best way to build it, because they don't want to fuse it together. You'll see a lot of oars like this being used on rafts, because again, rafts, you're going to be beating them up in rocks, you're going to be using them in gnarly whitewater, so you don't want to spend a ton of money on an oar that you may just break or you may lose. So that's where this oar comes in. A couple reasons why it's not very popular on drift boats is the balance of it. There's no counterbalance, and I'll show you some oars in a second that have a counterbalance in them. And so when you're rowing it, it's called the swing weight. The weight of the oar when it's in your hand and you're rowing, the swing weight's pretty high, so it's going to feel heavier. So throughout the day, a full day on the water, 8 hours of rowing, like you want to kind of take advantage of any thing you can, and so that's why you're going to want a counterbalanced oar, or at least a well-balanced oar, so the swing weight's lower. And so with this one, and then also with us, with our boats, like they're pretty expensive. People drop a lot of money on them, and they want it to look good, and that kind of really comes into it. Like you'll see here, like this wood oar, for example, like that's just a clean, good-looking oar. Like that, it looks awesome, and so people love that look to add into their boat. So next one that we're going to talk about is what's called, this is called a lamfer. So this is same thing in the sense that it's just a straight round shaft, but this one's wood. And so when you get into wood, then you're going to get into one-piece oars. The blades do not come off. They're all built in one unit, and this one is really popular because it's got a lot of flex to it, considering compared to other oars and stuff. And so it's going to be, with that flex, it's going to be a little bit easier on your shoulders. If you have a really stiff oar, every time you go to make a stroke, it's just going to kind of hurt it after a while. So you want to have a little bit of a give to it. And so this oar's got good give to it. It's strong still, and then it's lightweight. This one does not have a counterbalance, but it's very lightweight, and so that's why it's going to be really popular for a lot of people. And so now I'll go into our #1 oar. So this is our #1 seller. So this is called the Sawyer Square Top X Weave with the shoal cut blade. I'll discuss here now a little bit more about blades, but this oar, as you see, versus everything else where it just had a round shaft and then it just stayed rounded all the way up to the handle, this one has a square top, and also it's thinner down here, and then it slowly tapers up and just gets thicker and thicker and thicker. And then your oar lock's going to sit about right in here, and then it just gets really thick and really fat up here. So what that is, that's a natural counterbalance. So when the oar is sitting in the oar lock, it's going to feel a lot lighter in your hands. So every time you go to pick up after you finish your oar stroke, it's just going to be easier to pick up and start back over. So that's why, again, why this oar is our #1 seller. It's got a thin veil of fiberglass over top of the wood oar, the wood shaft. Unlike this is just straight laminated. It's just got some a finish on it. And then this one here has that thin layer of fiberglass, and then the X-weave. I don't know if you guys can see this, but so that's just little strips of carbon. Those little strips of carbon add to the look, but they also add to the stiffness a little bit in the overall strength and power of the oar. So blade shape. This is our #1 blade design that we sell. If you imagine kind of the angle I'm holding it right now is the angle that's going to go down in the water. So you have this teardrop kind of bellied out section here. And what this gives you is, since it's fatter back in here, it's going to give you more purchase in shallower water. Versus if this blade was just, if you just imagine it being one shape, kind of cut off this bottom section here, then only your tip's going to be rubbing on the bottom of the river, hitting rocks and whatnot, and then you're going to lose all this. And at some point, the blade's obviously going to come out of the water. So this one's great for rowing in shallow water. That, like I said, again, is our #1 seller. This one was originally designed for the South Fork skiff. And the guys that designed the South Fork skiff designed this blade. So this one has very similar surface area and amount of displacement that the shoal cut blade have, but it's a symmetrical shape versus asymmetrical. So there's no right side up, upside down. I really like this blade. Personally, this is my favorite. Just right now where the industry is and where people are rowing, that shoal cut blade is what they use the most. So that's what we sell the most of. But personally, on my boat, I like to have the South Fork blade. Just makes it kind of dummy proof. You don't have to worry about if you're upside down, right side up. And then also longevity. You're not going to wear this blade out as fast, because when you're digging in the rocks and digging in the gravel and stuff, you can use both sides of it versus only having one side that's going to get worn out. So that's just kind of a bonus there. The last one we're going to talk about today is, so this is Sawyer's newest oar, and it's called the Sawyer Smoker Bandit. Obviously you guys can't tell, this is crazy lightweight. Like, I can lift this up with 2 fingers. There's nothing to it. It's full carbon fiber shaft, carbon fiber blade with a honeycombed interior of the shaft. So the swing weight is crazy low. It's got a special oar lock that it goes with. And so this design is kind of, in our mind, #1 on the market right now for what we like. It's really expensive, so we don't sell as many of them. But like, it's got a lot of the same technologies that like you'll get with your top end fly rods, where it's got a good amount of flex to it, but it also has a good amount of return. And so you're going to get power at the end of your stroke, just like you would at the end of your cast with your fly rod, so on and so forth. So this one's really cool. This one actually too also has a removable blade, just the way that it's designed, with the shaft being rolled exactly like a fly rod on a mandrel. The blade inserts carbon fiber onto carbon fiber. This one's really cool, but that's the newest option. That's kind of, that technology probably came out about 6 years ago, and it's gone through some tests and stuff, and we've been running it really from the get-go. And Sawyer launched that oar in 2017 in the fall, and we're huge fans of it. The fit and finish is awesome. The durability, it's going to be as strong as any one of these wood oars. So that's a big bonus there. A lot of people, like, they touch them and immediately they're like, man, I'm going to snap this thing in half. I'm pretty abusive on gear and I've yet to snap one. So now we're going to go back and kind of start to go into getting ready. So now we're going to go over like getting ready and what your boat actually needs. So well, let's just pretend you either rented a boat, you're borrowing a buddy's boat, you bought a boat, it's brand new or it's used, it doesn't matter. Before you hit the water, there's a few things that you need legally, and I'm going to talk legally since in Montana I'm not super familiar with every other state, Idaho, Wyoming, wherever, New Mexico, California, different spots all the way over to New York and Michigan, different places like that. But legally in Montana, the only thing you need as a recreational floater is one life jacket per person in the boat. That's great. That's a great place to start. For me, every time I hit the water, there's other things that I like to bring for safety wise, because chances you're going to sink a boat are pretty slim, but chances you're going to break an oar, lose a drain plug, lose someone get their finger cut, things like that are a lot higher. So next thing you're going to need is obviously your standard oars, like we just talked about, a full set of those, 2 of those, and then you're going to need a breakdown oar, or want a breakdown oar. So a breakdown oar is exactly what it sounds like, and it's a spare oar. So you just clip this together. It can live in your storage compartments of your boat, depending on the design, and a quick disconnect button. And then once it's together, now you have spare oar just like you'd have a spare tire. It's not going to row great. It's not going to perform great, but it's going to get you off the water. It's going to get you off the river safely, let you finish your day out. So highly recommend always getting a spare oar. It's just like, again, it's just like a spare tire. I sell a lot of boats. We deal with a lot of people. I get a lot of people that don't get them. And I understand that they want to save the money, but you're out in the river. You don't have cell service. There's no boats around. You snap an oar. At that point, you're Lewis and Clark, Tom Sawyer down the river. Like it's going to be a real tough day just to get anywhere. The boat's going to spin circles on you, and it's going to not be safe at all. So spend the $220, get the spare oar, and as long as you have it, you'll never need it. But as soon as you don't have it, you're going to need it. So then from there, anchor. Anchor's obviously kind of mandatory for drift boats. There's really no great way to stop the boat besides pulling it up on the riverbank without an anchor, and that's not going to work in a lot of spots. So make sure you have an anchor, and we use a 30-pound anchor for all of our boats, and really every drift boat that we sell, and even jet boats and stuff like this. 30-pound super stopper it's going to do the deal for you and really stop you anywhere. This one, the anchor rope pulls up like this at an angle, and so these feet grab in. One thing with anchors, so this one's a green anchor made by a company in Montana, and that is lead encased in steel, and we're a huge fan of that. It's probably mandatory in some places, but this anchor today weighs 30 pounds. In 15 years from now, it's going to weigh 30 pounds. A lot of times people are really used to seeing those pyramid style anchors that are just lead, and that they work good, but 5 years from now, that 30-pound anchor is going to weigh 25 pounds. And those 5 pounds of lead didn't go in your truck. It wasn't in your boat. That was left in the river. So we just want to try to keep what we have and be good stewards. And so that's why we're a huge fan of the green anchors. And there's a lot of companies that make ones that are encased in steel. So we highly recommend that. Another big thing is your plugs. So your plugs are going to go, and we'll get into that in a minute about launching the boat and putting your plugs in. But I always recommend having a second set of plugs in the boat. Whatever you have dogs, you have kids, you have just anyone in the boat, they can easily kick one out. If something happens, you lose a plug, you're going to be in a bad spot. So carry an extra set of plugs. One that I don't see very often, but I highly recommend, is actually a spare oar lock. A lot of times, if you get an oar pinched in a rock, the oar may not break, or if it does break, it puts, this is just brass, and so it puts so much force to the shaft of this oar lock that it bent. And so now that it's bent and it's in your oar, you're in your oar lock block, you're in trouble because you can't get the full rotation out of it. It only moves a little bit, and so an extra oar lock is a big bonus. From there, you're going to have this. So this is called a thirsty mate. It's essentially a bilge pump. If you get water in your boat, this is extremely helpful. Instead of cutting a beer can open or cutting a bottle open or whatever and trying to scoop out 5 ounces of water at a time, this thing just pumps. You just set the bottom, and it just sucks the water right up. It works amazing. And that's not just for if you go through some heavy water, you accidentally almost sink the boat, or let's say you do sink the boat and you need to get water out. This obviously is helpful for that. But I've been out on the water so many days where it just starts to downpour, and that you're talking an inch of water every half an hour in the boat. And before you know it, you got 5-6 inches of standing water in the bottom of the boat, and everyone's gear's wet, and it just keeps coming down. So this thing has more purposes than just if something goes wrong. I've used it more times for sure when Mother Nature's turned on us. So that's a big thing. First aid kit doesn't have to be super fancy. This is actually one I just pulled from my truck today, but just something. Just have some bare minimums, things to get. Like someone gets a hook in themselves, someone falls out of the boat, scrapes themselves up. Bring a first aid kit. That's a big thing. One that I recommend, especially if you're going to be with multiple people, you're going to be doing some heavier whitewater, some nastier stretches. This is a throw rope. So what you do is you just kind of unbuckle this top, and you take it, and then you grab the rope on this end, and then you literally just throw this, and the rope unravels as it comes out. And if someone is stuck in the middle of the river on a rock, you can throw this to them, and then you can pull them back across. A lot of times you can't get to them with a boat. Another thing I've seen this used for a lot too is like if for some reason a boat goes down and gets pinned to a rock or a raft or something, you can actually hook this up to the bow eye or something on the boat and tow the boat off. So that's right there is kind of like what I would recommend for every trip. Seems like a decent amount of gear, but really it's not that much. And it's, again, like just what I keep saying, I'll say it again. You don't need this stuff until you need it. So put it in your boat, buy it once, and and leave it in there. And you'll never forget it, and you'll never go without it. It's something as stupid as you're in a whatever $13,000 boats, and one of these costs $50, and it's like, just put one of these in your boat, and it'll save you one day. A lot of this stuff for us, we just put underneath the rower's seat, because the rower, you're sitting on it all day, so you're not standing up and getting into it. And so put that stuff in there, forget about it, and you'll have it until something goes bad. So now, next thing that we're going to cover, I'm kind of doing this in sequential order of how you're going to hit the water. So we talked about different boats, like what to look for. different boats for different situations, a high-sided boat versus kind of a lower-sided boat, rafts versus hard boats. And now we talked about oars, we talked about what goes in the boat. Now we're going to talk about actually hooking the boat up to the truck and getting ready for the day. So I'm going to have Aaron come over here. So handy dandy hand cart here. We're going to pretend like this is the back of your truck, your SUV, whatever. And we're going to pretend like you're hooking up and you're getting ready to take off for the day. So very first thing is just go around, make sure you have all that gear, right? I'm going to talk about maintenance here at the end, which is very important. But with that, in your check, getting ready for the day and checking things out, you're going to want to go over trailer maintenance and things like that. Check your bearings and stuff. But we're going to pretend like you already did that stuff. You got all that stuff in there, and now you're just getting ready to hit the water. Big thing with hooking up to the truck. I know this seems kind of elementary and just is something dumb to go over, but it's a big deal. I don't know how many times I've seen trailers come off hitches. If you want to kind of get some good knowledge of worst case scenarios, there's an Instagram page called Qualified Captains. Go on there and you can see worst case scenarios, what happens when you don't hook up your boat. But so first thing, you just coming up, and you're literally just to make sure you have the right size ball. So this right on the tongue of pretty much every trailer, it's going to say what size ball it is. And so this is a 2-inch ball. I know that that's a 2-inch ball, so we're good to go there. Clip the trailer tongue down, and then this is called your hitch pin. Make sure you have a hitch pin. That's what's going to save you if you're driving some pretty bad dirt road, whatever. That's going to save you from bouncing, going up and down, and that thing opening up, and then you loosen it. From there, and we're just going to pretend again that this is all based off the truck. But safety chains, depending on your trailer, and take a look at your trailer. Some trailers have one safety chain hooked up to one side of the trailer and one safety chain hooked up to the other side of the trailer. If that's the case, then you want to cross them. So you want your right side one going to your left side, hook up, and vice versa. Left side going to the right side. Our trailers, they all have just one bolt in the middle that holds the chain on, so you're pulling from the center. The reason being why you cross them is if something were to happen and your hitch was to come off, you're gonna, by having your chains crossed, it's gonna pull straight and it's not gonna walk all over. So it's gonna give you a few extra seconds to stop the truck, stop it, and make sure that nothing goes bad. Next thing you're gonna want to do is hook up your trailer lights. Once you have your lights plugged in, we have this is a little battery used to test things here. So we'll do it in a second. But so now, for me, I do this all in a system. I like to be very systematic about it every single time. I check all these things before I'm ready to drive off. So now I've hooked up the front. Next thing I'm going to do is check my winch strap. Just make sure you're tight. It doesn't have to be crazy tight. Just make sure it's tight. Safety chain for the front. And then you're going to come around and now you're going to check. So this is called boat buckles. So the boat buckles, it's a retractable system. Comes up and over the tunnel, and that's strapped down. The old school version is just one strap that goes all the way to the top, and then it has a clasp. So make sure your boat's strapped down, and you're good to go. And then from there, you're going to make sure, so you're going to go around, you're going to check this boat buckle. Make sure you're tight, and then come back and make sure that you have that again. So now you're back at the front, and from there, you're going to just make sure you're not going to have any trash, anything like that that's going to blow all over the boat, causing you issues. And you've already checked, you made sure you had all your gear that we talked about earlier, so you're good there. Checking trailer lights. I'm not really going to check the lights right now, but I don't know if you guys can see this, but our lights are on, so it shows that the brakes are on and stuff. But you just want to make sure your brakes work. You want to make sure that your turn signals work, not just for you, for others, and then obviously no one wants to get a ticket. So that's the quick and dirty on the hookup.
Justin, can I ask a question real quick?
Fire away.
Where do you put the anchor, oars, and some of the other gear associated, with the boat?
Yeah. So Aaron can bring the camera over here real fast, and we'll actually show you. And this kind of how we transport with it. So this is actually what we do a lot of the times. This is actually a heavy duty feed bucket. So it's really like thick rubber. You'll find them at ranch supply stores. We sell them. And then this one doesn't have it done, but what we'll do is we'll actually strap this bucket to the back of this captain's chair or the leg braces, and then we'll throw the anchor in it. And we'll actually leave the anchor on the rope. That way we just know that you're going to always have your anchor with you and that it's going to be connected. It's in a safe spot. This setup is very specific to our boats. Not very many boats have a great way to store an anchor like that inside of them. I see a lot of people use a rubber bucket, but if you are going to use a rubber bucket, you need to strap it down, because this anchor the boat's going to bounce, the trailer's going to bounce, like they all should bounce in unison because you're strapped down right. But this anchor, if it's not strapped down, this bucket will tip over, and this is just 30 pounds of damage waiting to happen, just pounding in the bottom of your boat. I don't know how many boats we've fixed where people just have been taking their anchor and they literally just throw it in the back. Like they'll just take it, and Aaron can probably, they'll literally just take this anchor and they'll just set it right there. And they don't realize how much bounce that 30 pounds will get. Same thing, like they'll set it in the back tray, and we'll get these guys that bring in the boats, and there's literally a hole through the bottom of the boat because they've been transporting with that, and they're like, oh, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. It's going to stay there. And I'm like, well, it stays there, but 30 pounds and 3 inches of bounce is all it takes to put a hole in a boat, especially if you're using like a sharp pyramid style anchor. So for so we recommend, if you're going to try to leave it on the rope, put it in the bucket and leave it in there. Strap it down. The other option is to take it completely off the rope, and then put it in the bed of your truck. If you're going to do that, what I do, this is like just a kind of pro tip / safety thing, is I actually have like a small link of chain that is that's hooked up to one of the tie downs in the corner of my truck, and then I have a carabiner attached to it. And so when I put my anchor in the bed of my truck, I actually attach my anchor to that small, like it's literally like 6 inches of chain, because if you were to get in an accident or something were to happen, then like again, talking about damage and stuff, like that's just a 30-pound weapon that's going to come. If you're getting a head on or something like that, that's 30 pounds where that anchor is going to come flying up at you. I've heard of stories of guys punching through through the cab of the truck, literally just straight through and embedded into the back of the rear seat and things like that, or coming right through the glass and things like that. So definitely, if you're going to do that, you could use an NRS strap. You can use a link of chain, just something along those lines. Most people don't do that. That's just kind of like a little pro tip thing. And two, the reason why, one of the reasons why I like doing it is it's kind of just like deterrent for someone to steal it. Like it's super easy to open up a carabiner. It's not even like a locking one. It's just a carabiner. But like the anchors are $150 a piece. Someone walks past your truck outside the bar and they see an anchor in there, they're just going to grab it. But that way, at least like they got to get in there, mess with the carabiner, stuff like that. For the oars, and then there is some, so there is some where they do like an anchor nest that you can mount to the back of the boat that the anchor sticks in. I'm not as big of a fan of that just because that's, again, like a bunch of weight hanging off the transom. It can do long-term damage. So try to avoid that one. There is some also that they make an anchor nest that goes on the trailer. Either one of those, all those options are great options besides just leaving it hooked up to the rope and setting it in the back. Don't even set it in a box. Like if you have a storage box back here, don't do that. Like it needs to be that. The reason why we use these heavy duty feed buckets is the bottom of that bucket's about a 1/2 inch thick or 3/4 inch thick of rubber. And then it holds the anchor good, so it's not rolling around and it's not bouncing. If it does bounce a little bit, it's going to, again, bounce with that rubber. Don't use like a 5-gallon pail. We have used some of the, I think they're called the Yeti loadout buckets. Those actually work really well. It's pretty expensive anchor bucket if that's what you're going to do, because this is about half the cost. But there's a lot more uses to that bucket during the day. You can throw more tools in there, different things. And what we do is once we launch the boat, I actually leave this anchor bucket in the boat and I use it for a trash can all day. It's just a good spot to throw beer cans, good spot to throw whatever wrappers, things like that. Keeps everything centrally located and easy to get at. So that's, again, what some options there. That Yeti loadout bucket's a great option for that also. So you can have more things in there. It fits perfectly here for us. We've done that quite a bit. I'm a big fan of those. So for oars, and this is going to be particular to boat to boat. So what we do with our oars actually is we just take them and we lay them on the ground in front to back. The blades sit up on the front flat floor area. You guys probably can't see that too well. Let me move this cooler. So the blade just sits there, and then the handles go back there. You're going to get a little bit of wear and tear on your oar blades from this, but like they're hitting rocks all day, so this is the least of the worries there. And then you're going to get a little tiny bit of wear on the handles, but not that big a deal. I've transported nationwide like this, driven to Virginia and back and all over with the oars just like this. And when I go somewhere and get back, that's where they are. So we like that. You'll see a lot of people do the seat to seat method. So they'll go like that, and they'll stick both ones in there, and then they'll like stick a bungee around their anchor down. I don't like that as much because, again, like we talked about with how this oar is going to wear, the way it's on the floor is it wears a little bit down there, not as big, but the way up here, it's not going to wear as much, but it's also really going to eat up these seats. So underneath the seat, you can see kind of the U shape. This plastic continues, and so you're actually going to end up eating through the back of that cushion, and that's going to happen a lot faster than if the oars were on the ground getting worn out. So we see a ton of boats, every different manufacturer all across the market. And this one is my least favorite option. But there is some boats that you have to do it in just because our boats have a really nice walk around design, open floor plan, no benches, things like that. And so we're able to get away with sticking them down on the floor like this. But with some of those traditional dory shaped, football shaped boats, you don't have that option. So you're going to end up having to stick them in the seats. Not the end of the world, but and it's a good option. I don't know too. I've had to talk to guys that get their oars stolen, and I think having them up and out and visible is gonna get people to be like, oh, that's because one set of these oars is around $800, and so that's a lot of money just kind of eyeing people in the face. And some of these put-ins and takeouts are in some pretty remote areas, and it's not fishermen stealing from other fishermen. It's whatever, some tweaker steals from you, and they don't even know what they stole. They just see some wood oars. And so yeah, so that's how we transport anchor and oars. What was I talking about? Okay, so now you're hooked up, you've driven to the river, you're good to go. Now you're going to launch. Obviously, I don't have a launch here. It's pretty tough to kind of go through some of that with you guys, but some quick pointers, some things to reference here is when you get to the boat ramp, there's usually always what we'll call a staging area. So you're going to have your actual boat ramp, and then you're going to have somewhere off to the side, out of the way for people loading and unloading that you can get ready. So that's where and you'll normally see other boats there. Do not show up to the boat ramp, and if the boat ramp's open, don't just back down it and then proceed to start to get ready. Even if no one's there, just right off the bat, pull in that staging area and get your boat ready. So when you get from there, once you're talking about getting your boat ready, you're getting your oars in, you're getting your drain plugs in, you're getting your anchor on, you're getting your rods rigged, you're getting your cooler set up, you're getting if you're going to wear waders for the day, whatever attire you're going to wear for the day, you're going to get completely ready. And I'm talking complete, like everything has to be ready where once you're done, all you're going to do is back down the ramp, unhook your boat in the water, and then drive off. Because if you're hot, especially like middle of summer, we're talking June, July, and any popular river, that in the morning and afternoon or evening, whatever, whether you're taking out, putting in, there's always going to be people coming and going. And if you're just parked in the middle of the ramp and you're getting your waders on and you're getting your rod rigged and all that stuff, like that's just not cool. You're gonna annoy a lot of people. You're gonna get side eyes all day. There's no difference whether you do that off the side or you do that there. It's just as easy, and it's just a lot more respectful to be able to do it off to the side. So now that you've gotten your boat ready, your anchor's on, kind of back to the anchor thing real quick. So even if you're not running the bucket system, put your anchor on and set it inside your boat, preferably towards the middle. Don't put it all the way in the back, but set it inside your boat. And the reason being is once you launch your boat, you're obviously going to have to anchor it up while you go park your truck and wait for people. So like we talked about earlier, the quicker you can do that, the better. And this way, you're going to have about 6 to 8 feet of rope out already. So all I need to do is I can't just drag my boat up on the side of the river because it'll obviously just float away, even with some current and stuff pulling on the bow. So you're gonna anchor it up, but all I need to do once the boat's in the water is I just grab this anchor and I just throw it where I need to be. I don't have to. What's really a pain is hopping inside and hitting the foot release, which releases the anchor for raising and lowering. Hit that, get about 5 feet out, pull a bunch of extra rope out, and then hop back out, and then grab your anchor. The quicker you can be, the more efficient you can be on the boat ramp, the better it is for you, the better it is for everyone else. So once you've done that, now you've launched your boat. When you launch the boat and you're backing it down in the water, unlike a big walleye boat, a big ski boat, a big bass boat, whatever it may be, pontoon, anything like that, you don't need to dunk the trailer. The boats come off the trailer very easy, especially on ours. We have a roller design, so the boat on and off is super simple. But when you're backing it down, can you see the axle? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when you're backing it down, only have the water line come to about right here. Just past, so you got your wheel and your tire, just past onto your wheel. Do not get the whole axle down in the water. The axles, most axles nowadays are all sealed and they can handle being dunked in the water, but just longevity, when we talk later about maintenance, it's going to be a huge deal to having the boat not dunking it down in there. So that's a big part of it. So just back it down just till that wheel gets wet, dunk the boat, and you're good to go. Once you dunk it, once you get your boat in, if you're by yourself or whatever, if you're not by yourself, have someone drive your truck away while you go to anchor your boat. But if you're by yourself, take your boat, walk it, whatever, 20 feet away from the boat ramp so someone else can come down and launch right after you or take out right after you, whatever it may be. Again, just etiquette thing, just really giving space to other people because they get crazy busy in summertime. So we just want to be able to make it as efficient as possible. If it's somewhere where you can have 2 trucks go down it, don't go in the middle, side by side. I know this all sounds basic info, like dirt, but it's not. You'd be very surprised when you're at boat ramps. So just being respectful of people, not hogging it up is going to be a huge deal. So now, same thing, pulling out, you're reloading your boat, exact same practices, just the reverse. Everything from not hogging the ramp to not breaking down your gear at the ramp, right on the ramp to storing stuff, hooking up, driving away, things like that. You just, again, want to just hook your boat up, drive off, and then go take off your waders and do all that stuff. Like, do not do that while you're out hooked up, blocking the whole ramp up. So that's kind of we talked about hook it to the launching. Now you're actually going to get into rowing the boat. I know this is what a lot of you guys are here for, but there's a ton of back info that kind of needs to go into it because obviously we got to get to the river. So let me move one thing over here and let's get into rowing. So one of the first things that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to set, can you bring it as close to the you're going to want to set the boat up for yourself. Every boat, for the most part, is going to have some adjustment in there. Like this boat here, we actually have 3 different oar locks positions that you can place the oars in. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's part of it. And then also another big part of it is adjustability in the rower seat. So this is actually on a slider, so I can slide forward. I'm pretty tall, I'm 6'5". So I'm gonna want this thing as far back as possible. And the reason being is that when you're rowing, so to get it perfectly set up for you, and I know this isn't always an option, but perfectly set up for you, when you want to sit in the rower's position, and you want to be able to extend your arms fully out, and you want the oars to be just less than 90 degrees to the boat. So you don't want them to be way out here, and you don't want them to be way over here. So the start of your stroke, because you're always, always, always going to be pulling towards you. For 101, like pull, pull, pull. Never push. You're never going to push. And we'll get into that in a little bit, why. But so start of my stroke is going to be out here. And I'm just making sure that I have that 90 degree or less, meaning less towards you, not away from you. If you're if you're going to go one side or the other, you want it to be definitely more angled towards the bow. It makes it really, really hard if it's facing the wrong direction. So now that I've done that and I've got it set up for me, now we're going to kind of talk about where the oars should be for the start of your stroke. When you start your stroke, you want your thumbs to be about 2 inches apart or almost touching. Like the closer, the better. And that's why, again, so there's a lot of things that go into setting up a boat, oar length and different things. But for the most part, you'll have the right oar length to start with, and you'll have the right seat height. From there, it's just setting your position forwards or backwards. But you want to be, again, 2 inches apart. Sometimes I'm actually crossing, sometimes I'm a little bit farther, but very close to touching. And then from there, when you pull, you want the oars to come right back towards your lower chest. If you're too high, you're pulling towards your clavicle versus your lower chest area. Then you're going to end up using way more shoulders and delts and all that area, and you're going to get worn out really fast. If you're pulling too low, then you're going to end up using way too much bicep, and that's going to be a big deal. That's going to wear you out. So the ideal setup is you're just going to pull towards your lower chest, and with your arms starting right there, come all the way back, and then you're going to kind of clear and then start your stroke over. The reason why you want that, again, that lower chest area is that way you're going to be using your lats. So your lats, your upper back, your back area, that's going to be way stronger than any other muscles, and they're going to get fatigued way slower. So again, arms out, back, just like this. And so you're always pulling toward yourself. And the reason why you're always pulling toward yourself is because you constantly want to slow yourself down, whether it's for getting time to go around an obstacle, or most of the time with drift boats in particular, you're fishing anglers. And so rarely do you ever really want to go the same speed as the current. You're going to blow through fishing holes and banks way too fast. So you're going to want to slow yourself down, giving your anglers time to catch more fish, to get a good drift and everything like that. In a drift boat versus a lot of other styles of fishing, it's almost 50-50 who catches the fish. Like if the front angler's catching fish, it's a lot of times 50% or sometimes 75%, depending on what style of fishing you're doing. The rower actually putting you in the right position, keeping you at the right speed, and maintaining that speed, and so on and so forth. So way different than a lot of stuff out there. So when you're rowing, you constantly have to be on top of the ball. Like, you should never be doing this. You should never just stick the oars under your legs or drop them and just be drifting down the river, drinking a beer. whatever, looking at your phone, eating some chips. Like if you're going to be rowing out of respect for the anglers because you want to catch fish just as much as they do, and so when you switch, then you want them to row for you like you rowed for them. And so that's why you're constantly making movements. Like you shouldn't go more than 3 seconds without doing something. And whether you're pulling with your right to kind of straighten yourself out this way or whatever, you're constantly doing something to keep your distance from the bank the same, because it's no fun to cast 15 feet and then all of a sudden you're casting 40 feet, 15 and 40 and back and forth, back and forth. And it's, if you're going to stay 20 feet away from the bank, you need to be 20 feet away from the bank the whole time for certain styles. And maybe there's a channel that kind of moves or whatever, but it just, you need to maintain whatever line you're talking about carrying as much as possible. And that kind of goes full circle back to like when we were talking about rafts versus traditional dory size versus skiffs and things like that. Like, you need to be able to track. And so to be able to track micro adjustments, it's when I first get in the boat, the very first thing I do once I pull up the anchor is I kind of drift for a split second and I give the boat 3 hard yanks, as hard as I can, because I want to almost stop and break the momentum of the water flowing underneath the boat. And from there, then it's way easier to do micro adjustments. If you just hop in the boat and you start doing these micro, trying to like manage the boat, and it's just getting ripped around by the current, it's going to be a nightmare. But again, if you just hop in, and this is a big pointer here, so pay attention to this part, is 3 big strokes, break that surface tension, almost stop yourself, use the bank as a reference, like pick a rock, a tree, a shrub, whatever, and just hold yourself parallel with that for a split second, and then start drifting down. And you're going to make your life so much easier from then on out, versus like getting in and trying to maneuver it, and the boat's just kind of getting controlled by the water versus you controlling it on top of the water. A lot of things happen. You get currents coming in from different ways. You get wind direction changes, a lot of stuff like that. So micro adjustment, constantly pulling. When you're going downriver, right, and you have a rock here, to be able to avoid that rock, you're going to want to point your bow at the rock. Whatever you don't want to hit, you want to point at. I know it's counterintuitive, but that's just the way to do it. Is if you don't want to hit a rock, you don't want to hit a tree, you don't want to hit a bank, whatever, point at it and then pull away from it. And by pulling away from it, the chines, the boat is just going to kind of slowly walk you away from it. If there's a rock over there and you turn your bow away from it and then you try to push away from it, what's going to happen is you're going to eat up so much more water, because you're trying to, not only are you going the same speed as the current, but you're also going twice as fast because you're pushing against it. So you're, again, like if your rock's here, you're, instead of slowly rowing yourself away from it, you're like pushing in, way faster. It's a lot harder for a boat to move that way, the way that they're designed. The chines, the sharp corners in the bottom of the boat is actually what steers you. And so whatever way those chines are facing in the water, like if you're facing straight in the water, as the current goes downriver, then you're going to stay straight. If you're going to point your bow a little bit, and so your chine is catching water on this outside edge, and I'm pulling, I'm going to go right. So again, vice versa. If I turn the bow so it's facing the right and I'm pulling, I'm actually going to go left. So big thing there is just, and that's why always pull. One of the social media questions I had was biggest beginner mistake that you see for someone trying to row is, and that's it, is for some reason, I don't know what, like if it's kayaks or canoes, but forever everyone's kind of used to doing this motion or this motion where they're kind of propelling themselves forward to get around something. it's the complete opposite with the drift boat. You always want to pull. Do not push. You're going to give yourself way more time to react. The boat's going to handle way better. It's going to maneuver safer. Everything that goes along with that. So pull, pull, pull. Beyond that, Mike, do you have any questions about like what I should go into rowing? There's really only so much I can do sitting in the boat inside a shop.
No, Justin, I think you did a great job sitting in the boat shop in a boat, not on the water. So thank you for doing that. I only can reiterate just the basics of pulling yourself away from danger. And Justin went through that very thoroughly and with great description and things along those lines, where it's you just have to point the bow at the danger and pull away.
Yeah, it's definitely counterintuitive again. Like everyone wants to be, it's almost like they want to turn away from something and then like look at it over their shoulder while they're trying to push, but the current is just going to run you right into that thing. And so just point at it and pull away. And two, especially if it's directly down in front of you and you're pulling at it and you're pointing at it, then you're just going to slow yourself down. You'll slowly go at it. You have to angle your boat. And that's why if it's off to the side of you a little bit and you point at it, that's why again, that current coming at you, the chine angle, it's gonna pull you away. It's really weird when it actually starts to happen right. And you're like, oh, this makes way more sense. And it's called ferrying across the river sometimes too. It's like, that's the way you get across the river, is you just point and pull and you won't eat up much river at all. And that's a great pointer too, because obviously like we're all trying to learn this stuff so we can catch more fish. It's a little bit different because I'm just trying to keep everyone safe, but you can take some of these practices and start applying them to being able to row efficiently to catch more fish. Because this is a tool. We sell a tool to catch more fish. It's some people use it for leisure, just to drift down the river, enjoy the scenery. It's a great option, but in the end, like the reason why you're getting a drift boat or a raft is to catch more fish.
And very similarly, like in fly fishing, greatest successes come from those micro adjustments, right? So, whether you're fishing a streamer or a nymph rig or a dry fly and you make these micro adjustments or a mend or something like that, the same thing is with rowing. You don't want big drastic changes in power or how you apply a stroke or a backstroke or a scull stroke or something like that. Like Justin said, it's almost like every 3 seconds you should be moving the oars, ferrying them, feathering them to different places just to keep the boat oriented in the place where it needs to be.
Yeah, and for practice in the very beginning, the best thing that I can say is just focus, not solely on, but really just focus on holding a distance off the bank. But once you get that skill down, because then you'll realize like, oh, okay, that the reason why the reason why I'm 10 feet closer is because I was pulling too hard on the right oar, which caused the back end to point towards the bank, and then all of a sudden I started to go towards the bank, and things like that, where you weren't applying even power, you weren't applying power in the right direction, you weren't parallel to start with, and so just taking that, and you can adjust from there. You can adjust the speed at which you go down the bank, but holding a certain distance off the bank and really getting good at that skill is gonna carry you a long way. So that's kind of okay. So before we leave this subject of the actual rowing, let's talk about like etiquette, river etiquette, how to handle other boats on the river, how to handle other walk weight anglers. same thing like we talked about before with the boat ramp, river etiquette, boat ramp etiquette. It's a huge deal. It's going to make a world of a difference. It's everyone's going to be happier out there if we're all respecting each other's space. And the thing that I kind of always reference is just the golden rule. Just treat others how you want to be treated. Like if you're rowing, if you're walkway angler, and the boat comes by and that guy annoyed you, now all of a sudden it's reversed and you're in there and you're like, oh man, I remember how that guy got this close to me and annoyed me. So just give people that berth. But I personally always give right away to walkway anglers. Like, depending on where you're at, a lot of them took a lot more time and energy to get where they're at. If they walk 2 miles from a boat ramp to get to a certain dry fly flat, to wait for a hatch to happen, I'm going to give them a very, very wide berth. All I did was hop in a boat, drift down, and I can anchor up whenever. I'm covering 2 to 15, whatever, 20 miles of river some days. And so I have so many options and spots to anchor up, to fish, different banks to fish and stuff. So if you come around a corner and there's a wade fisherman on it, you can fish a little bit of that straightaway, whatever, but give that person, row out, get in the middle of the river, on the other side of the river, fish the other side, or just put the rods up and just sit there and drift past them, wave to them, say have a nice day and stuff. Because that guy, it's going to go a long ways for user groups like drift boats, so we keep our access rights, keep our fishery rights and stuff like that. There's definitely been some recent happenings in Montana where certain rivers, certain spots, they're trying to take some of those rights away. So we just need to be very cognizant of that and give those people a wide berth. In regards to other boats, so every river is going to be different. You have some rivers like the South Fork of the Snake or the Missouri River that are 200-yard wides in some section, and there's 5,000 fish per mile. Then you have other rivers like the Clark Fork or the Blackfoot or the Teton, a lot tighter, a lot narrower. There's certain rivers that I've been on that the kind of rule of thumb is don't fish if you see another boat. That's pretty drastic, but again, with tight rivers, that's not out of the question because you could be past that boat in 15 seconds and never see them again. Other rivers, you can see up and down river 2 miles, so that's a little drastic. Again, just how would you like to be treated? What would you like? Don't come right up. If someone's anchored, give them a wide berth. We don't know why they're anchored. They could be re-rigging, they could be eating lunch, they could be, the biggest thing is they could be waiting for a hatch, or they could be fishing to a pot of fish. So if they're anchored and the anglers are sitting there and they're just sitting there, looks like they're doing nothing, they literally may be doing nothing at that moment, but they're watching for a pot of fish that they just put down because they didn't have the right fly on. And so their guide or whoever retied, and now they're waiting for that pot of fish to come back up and they're going to cast it. So don't just think that they're not fishing and then come drifting right past them, casting your flies in the back and the front and all over them, because that's just going to piss them off and it's going to put down their fish, and then they're going to get angry. And then the rest of the day when you're floating that section together, they're going to definitely probably return the favor in a way at some point. Even though that's not the right thing to do, it just seems to happen. So just giving people wide berths, being very respectful of their water, giving walkway anglers the respect that they deserve for walking to those spots and fishing that 200-yard stretch of river versus the 6 miles that you're floating that day is a big deal. And then it just kind of goes full circle: boat ramp, take in, put out, everything that goes along with that. The one thing too, quickly before we move on to this, and we're going to get into maintenance, is the anchoring. Don't anchor in super fast water. The boat is going to want to walk on you, and that gets very dangerous. That's how the back end gets sucked down. And drift boats are made, once they start taking on water, they're really made to just take it on and go away from you. They're not, again, not like a raft that's going to float and be there with you. So don't anchor in fast water, and then don't anchor if you really don't know where you're at. Like if you can't see the bottom and you don't know what the bottom's like, probably shouldn't anchor there. Definitely like row as close as you can into an inline seam area that's softer water to anchor up where you can see the bottom. If you see a bunch of big boulders along the side, then most likely there's a bunch of big boulders in the river bottom. And an anchor is only this big, and if there's gaps and boulders that are this big, that anchor will get down in there and will get lodged. And that's when you can really cause a problem, is if your anchor gets stuck and you're fighting, pulling, trying to get it out, and you can't get it out. At that point, just let it go. The rope and the anchor, you're out $180. You sink the boat, you're out a lot of money, 10 plus grand. So if you get the anchor lodged, don't fight it and try to get it out. Fight it. You can fight it for a while. Like obviously, use common sense. But if you start to feel the boat walk around, if you're in some turbulent water, like just let it go. Come back maybe another day, try to find it at some lower flows. Then yeah, again, just paying attention to your river banks. Like sandy bottoms is nice, and smaller gravel is nice. If you see big boulders or riffraff, do not drop anchor right there. Don't drop anchor in fast water, and you'll be good to go. That's a big thing. We actually had 3 years ago on the Missouri River, about 45 minutes from here, a guy sunk a boat, 3 people in the boat, and 1 person actually ended up drowning because he went through some crazy, it wasn't crazy, he just went through some heavier rapids and got nervous and just slammed his foot on the foot brace, foot stomp, dropping the anchor, thinking it would straighten him out, but it didn't. The boat was walked around, sunk, boom. 2 guys swam away. 1 guy's got as the boat sunk, he got hooked to it, and so things like that, we just feel horrible when things like that happen, and so we just want to avoid things and be as safe as possible. So if you don't know what the bottom looks like, don't anchor. Get in soft water and you'll be safe. So covered how to row basics and anchoring, things like that. Yeah. So now we're going to get into a lot of you guys had questions about the boat maintenance. We'll first start with the boat. Big deal. Traveling all around the country, fishing different fisheries, different rivers within the same state, different rivers within the same county even. You have to clean, dry, and inspect your boat. Many of you have probably noticed traveling across borders, a lot of them have boat check stations now. And so before you can even come into Montana, your boat needs to be inspected because they're looking for mussel shells, mainly zebra mussels. That's a big, it kills fisheries, spots like that. So every time when you get done with fishing, clean your boat. Simple wash down. If you got a power washer, great. A hose and a scrub brush works awesome. A lot of you guys asked about what we use to clean the boats. Honestly, Simple Green. Simple Green is it works like a charm. Scum lines, the just grime that's been baked onto the boat, like spray some Simple Green on it, wait 5 minutes, come back and give it a blast, and most of it will come off. I, again, see a ton of boats. One of the things that I noticed right off the bat, I can tell how often someone cleaned a boat just by looking at it. if it's a 2-year-old boat, it's a vast difference from someone that washed it every time they got off the water and then took care of it, dried it off, versus someone that washed it every once a month or every 15th time they got off the water or never washed it. It's a big deal when it comes to longevity, keeping your boat fresh. Is wash it, clean it, dry it, and again, simple green. Like, you don't need harsh chemicals. You don't need any sort of bleach or anything like that. If you want to use some wax material, some sort of wax, after you get done, I've tried some different ones. There's nothing really pops out of my mind that works better than none. There's a lot of like simple like spray on, rub it off, just one step wax thing. Yeah, that's going to help from UV. Just make sure, again, like don't go like crazy liberal with it and spray it all over, because at some point that's going to go in the water, and we want to keep the water as clean as possible. Inside of the boat works though. You can do a lot of that stuff. Clean it. If you can cover it, put it in the garage, buy a cover. It's worth the investment. Again, like, I could tell, big deal, boat that's been covered in the condition of the seats. There's just spots that I look immediately if someone wants to trade in a boat, brings it in for repair, maintenance, whatever. I can tell if a boat's been kept inside, kept covered, and kept clean. So that's a big deal. Keep the boat clean, taking stuff out of it, washing it out, scrubbing it, doing that. So now, one of the bigger questions we get, hold on, we're going to do the axle. So now we're going to talk about trailer maintenance. Someone in one of the questions asked, kind of broke it down in a good way, like daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. What do you recommend? Daily, just kind of give it a good once over. Just kind of look at it, make sure your tires aren't wearing weird. A big thing that happens with drift boats versus a lot of other boats is there's this time when you don't even drive your boat, but your trailer, or sorry, drive your truck and your trailer, so you don't know what happens. Shuttle drivers are going to move your rig from spot to spot, ramp to ramp. And so there's this, 20-mile road section where some random person's driving your vehicle without a boat on the trailer. And so the trailer at that point is way lighter. So that thing's going to bounce. It's going to do a bunch of crazy stuff that you would never see because, again, you're not running your shuttle. You paid someone $30 or $25 or whatever to run it for you. So as much as you think you know what your trailer looks like all the time, just check it over. I get people all the time that tell me, like, they're like, hey, my boat's not towing quite right. I got a weird vibration. And I'll tell them to look at their tread wear. And if they have a one weird spot, then their axle's out of whack. And that could be that someone hit a rock with it. And now one of the tires is like dog-eared, where it's sticking out weird, and it's just making it shake weird, and it's wearing it out. At that point, you're going to have to replace the whole axle. You can't just repack the bearings and be good to go. So checking lights, checking rollers, checking your boat buckles, checking bolts, just making sure, just kind of doing a visual check and walking around. From there, the biggest thing that's going to need maintenance on your trailer is going to be your axle. Every single year, I would have someone that knows what they're doing repack your bearings at the least, if not replace them. On my personal boat, I had a guy check mine one time. My boat wasn't even 8 months old at that point, and brought it to the trailer shop. And I had picked up a bunch of like monofilament, just leader material, tippet material at a boat ramp, and it wrapped around the outside, the inside of my spindle, my hub, and it blew out my rear seal, and my bearings were all rusted out and about to seize up. And I'm very religious about taking care of the axles. So I was greasing them a couple times a year, and I was checking them and stuff. But it's just one of those things, like I wasn't climbing under and looking at the backside of it, but just me being proactive. Like I knew when I would shake the axle, it felt fine to me, but I didn't know that that rear hub seal was blown out. So definitely have them checked by a trailer shop or whoever, some mechanic shop once a year. It should be around $130 to $100 in there to have them replaced, repacked. Like that peace of mind is worth it every year, no matter what. So from there, I had someone ask how to check to see when your axle needs to be serviced or your hubs need to be replaced. I just did it, but I'll do it again so you guys catch on. So what you do is you literally just walk up to the side of your trailer, grab the top of the tire, and rock it back and forth. And I'm pulling and pushing, pushing and pulling perpendicular to the axle. So you shouldn't feel any knocking at all in that. That should be solid. Like when I shake it, the whole trailer's shaking. And I had one in here yesterday. I had a guy drop his boat off for another maintenance, and I just do it instinctively all the time just to see. So I went like that, and you audibly can hear it, and you physically can feel it, where it goes clunk, 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 clunk. And what that is that the spindle is actually loose. And they just get loose over time. There's nothing you can do about it. It just is the nature of the beast. It's just like changing the oil in your car or replacing tires, whatever. Like your axle's gonna need to be serviced. You didn't do anything wrong. You just have to take care of it. And it can be as little as an 1/8 inch worth of wiggle, or it can be as much as a 1/2 inch. And that's like you're about to seize an axle at that point. That turns very costly. You can repack both sides for around $110 versus buying a new one. You're upwards of $700, and then from there, you probably smoked your tires at that point, so you're another $100+ in your tires, close to 200 depending on what tire you have. So it turns from routine maintenance, which costs sometimes nothing, to as much as now all of a sudden you blew $1,000 just because you weren't taking care of your stuff. So I'm going to show you, I showed you how to check it. So now I know that this axle's good. It's not loose. And I'm going to go around and check the same side, the other side also. You can't do it to one side and expect and have the same, and just know that that side's good. You have to physically do it to both sides. But right now I'm going to show you how to grease the axle. So kind of into the daily, like you don't have to do this daily just because again, it's not going to happen overnight, but monthly, check that. You need to grease your axle. The manual calls for twice a year. So I don't care how you do it. If you do it first thing in the spring, and then you do it in August, and then you don't do it again until September or whatever, but or you don't do it in the end of the year, and then you just wait till spring again. How I like to do it is I like to grease them and check them in the spring, and then grease them and check them sometime in the summer, and then do like a a good solid check sometime in the fall, just in case. Like I'm not someone that likes to wait until, like today it was 80 degrees out. I'm not going to wait till it's 80 degrees out and want to use my boat and then go check it and be like, oh man, my hubs need repacked, and then now I'm out of day fishing, whatever. So just do that proactively in the fall when you're going to put the boat away. But then just after the spring, just making sure that it's good to go. So can they see this hub there? Mm-hmm. Is it close enough? So here's your, and this setup here is kind of specific to our trailers, but this is kind of the industry standard right now. You're going to have an internal like greasing type system. So you're going to have your hubs in there, and you're going to have this aluminum cap that covers the outside of your spindle, and then you're going to have this dust cap. So you pop that dust cap, and I just use a flathead screwdriver to do that. You can use a key, whatever, and you're just going to visibly check, make sure there's grease around there. This trailer is brand new, and so I'm going to grease it, but this is just standard, like marine, standard like axle grease, standard grease. Try to match the color before you start greasing. They all have like different colors. Like marine grease is usually blue. This stuff is kind of got like a purpley tint to it, or like dark red tint to it. So you want to try to match whatever you got. So right in the middle there is a zert. You just stick it on that zert, and once you're on there, then you just start greasing. And I can, so on this, so you guys probably can't see it, but inside of this hub, there's grease that goes all the way around the hub. With the way that this works is that the grease goes in, hits the back seal, comes around and gets pressed back through the bearings and the race. So when I see any of the grease budge around the outside of this aluminum cap here, then I know that it's done. Like there's no exit port that just a bunch of it dumps out of, and there's no, you don't want it dumping out the front. If you pump too much grease in here, you can blow out that back seal, and that again becomes really costly because now you got to take the whole hub off and repack it and so on and so forth. So just a little bit, as soon as you see that budge, you're good to go. Then take that cap, actually let me, so I got a little bit of excess grease around there. I'm just going to clean that off and then stick this back on, making sure that I get it seated well and it's on there. And then just making sure that there's no grease around there, because that's going to be kind of your indicator. If you're maintaining your trailer, boat, all of it, and keeping everything clean, if one day I get to a boat ramp or I go out to get home from a trip and I look down and I see a bunch of grease around my wheel, then I immediately know something's gone wrong. But if I don't ever clean that stuff and there's just constantly grease there, then what do I know? It's just more grease. So keeping that clean, it's going to be able to tell you, because a lot of times you'll get like the seal here will go bad, or the rubber cap will get a hole in it, and it'll throw grease all around. And so that's a big deal. If you don't see, even though it's just a tiny pinhole in that black cover, that ends up being a big deal in the long run, because now all of a sudden that grease has somewhere to go. And even though you've been greasing it, or you greased it last week and you used your boat 6 times since then, it's going to be dry. And so now you're going to seize a bearing again just because you got a tiny little pinhole in that rubber cap. Again, like having a professional look at it is a big deal. And that's going to be a game changer. A couple people asked me about like rebuilding them and stuff. Just unless you know how, I wouldn't even mess with it. They're pretty complicated. And so bring it, just spend the money. And then I had some people ask about like fixing their boat. There's very few fixes that you can do by yourself that are going to be worthwhile, that are actually going to help you in the long run. Because boats are very durable. They just because some fiberglass is showing, you're not going to actually hurt anything. So with continued use, like after years and years, yeah, it's going to start to cause an issue. But we do a lot of repairs here, and we see a lot of home repairs. And home repairs cause more time and damage and cost than just if you would find someone that knows how to do fiberglass repair, just have them do it all. And just find someone that's reputable, ask your friends, ask around. Like everyone's going to kind of have their opinion on it. The guys that cost more and everything, and the reason that they have a good reputation is because they do it right. If someone's like, oh, this guy will do it for a couple $100 or $50 or whatever, like, yeah, I maybe wouldn't trust them. There is some stuff you can do, and I can answer those questions individually if you shoot me an email or something, but like, I'm not a proponent of doing home repairs on drift boats. I've done too many repairs of home repairs, and it cost way more money. The damage would have ended up being worse because of the home repair. So it just causes a nightmare. So don't do it. You're not really going to add any value to your boat. You're probably not going to do it right in a way that you're going to actually add life to the boat. Because if you don't seal it up right, then water's still going to get in there. It's going to wick it up, and you're going to get delamination. And there's a long list of reasons not to do it, but we'll just say don't do it. So that's pretty much all I have for this stuff right now. We had a couple people, one other question someone asked, I'm looking at my notes here. Storing the boat, if you back it up, Aaron, real quick. If you have a really nice cover, you can store it like this and flat, as long as you have a trailer jack, and so it sits level. Personally, though, even with a really nice cover, I always recommend storing the boat bow up in the air. Loosen the winch strap and let the boat kind of roll back on the trailer and then tip it back, and that's how it's going to store the best. Water is going to constantly be draining out of it. Even with the cover on, I still recommend that a lot of the times. Just so much easier on the boat if in the long run, if it's tipped up in the air. If you don't know what I'm seeing, drive past any fly shop that has boats, and they probably have them tipped back. Hop on our website and look at our used boats. You'll see boats tipped back. It's pretty straightforward, but store them with the cover on if you have them. Invest in the cover if you don't. It's a pretty big deal. And then tip that bow up. Water, if the bow's down, the water's just filling in there, even though they're boats, like freeze thaw action's not going to do you any favors. So just keep as much, your drain holes are in the back, keep that boat tipped up and let it drain. Yeah, so is it Mike, you want to give us some questions? We still have people.
Yeah, totally, man. Thank you. That was very comprehensive. I definitely picked up on some things I need to do better on in building a better schedule on the maintenance piece. It's easy, as you said. It's 80 degrees outside. I'm going to rip the cover off my boat and I'm going to go fishing, and I see grease all over a hub or something like that. So building those schedules and those systems is just going to allow everyone to spend more time on the water. And the boat ramp etiquette portion, thank you. You know, that can continually becomes a conflict in all Western River and river access areas all over the United States, and you touched on it perfect. You know, do unto others as you would want do to you. You know, it's all about cognizance and awareness when we're all funneled into one common space, and we're going to have to think about that a lot coming into this summer with everything that we're dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic and things like that, where you know, Fish and Game or Fish, Wildlife, and Parks officers or game wardens and stuff like that, they it wouldn't surprise me if they have a watchful eye on these social gathering congregation spots, and boat ramps with bathrooms are one of them. So, you know, having your system, being ready, you know, and how to get on the water, you know, as efficiently and fast as possible is going to be crucial. But yeah, we got a bunch of Q&A pieces coming in through social media. I'll open the chat. I've got some other questions through email, and I'll sort of pick through the most pertinent ones for the sake of time. So Justin, what are 3 things that you do to winterize your boat, and 3 things you do before you launch your boat in the spring?
Winterize, just honestly, for drift boats, like you don't have a motor, you don't have bilge or ballast, you don't have the things like that a normal boat, like big boat, might have. The biggest thing again is invest in a cover and tip the boat back. And so at that, and then from there, like making sure that your storage compartments are dry, like using them and stuff. And if you wash your boat and then slap a cover on it and stick it outside right away, then you're just gonna have a ton of condensation in your storage compartments underneath your cover. And I've literally opened up boats and covers where it's moldy underneath. And so you don't want to do that. So making sure that you clean it and clean it up as nice as possible and drying it. And then once it's dry, put that cover on, tip that bow up. And then from there, like I for safety things too, just to kind of add on to that, you could chalk the tires like we have this one's here. I've seen boats in Montana, we get crazy windy, and I've had boats that just get blown across the yard where the bow's sticking up in the air, and all of a sudden we come in the next day and we got all the boats on one side of the lot, and they did not start there. So what happened? And I've also been here and watched it happen. So just little things like that. And then checking it throughout the winter. Like, since there isn't really anything to winterize, like don't just put it out there and forget about it. Like go out there, if you get a big dump of snow, brush some of it off. Like if you get a freeze thaw action, that when you get that thaw, all that water likes to get trapped on the cover or in the boat, and then it will freeze again. And so that's where I've seen some crazy things happen. It's not so much from the pre-winterizing, it's during the winter things that happen that you were like, well, there was no water in it when I put it away. And it's like, well, yeah, and then it dumped whatever 3 feet of snow and then got 40 degrees for a week. That's a bigger issue than winterizing. Spring, again, just kind of touching on those maintenance things that I went over, making sure your lights work, making sure your tires are good, making sure your axle's good. I'm a big proponent of do a lot of that stuff in the fall. Like our phone just starts ringing off the hook when we get 2 nice weeks worth of weather in the Rocky Mountain states. I was talking with the owner the other day, joking, like we can tell what the weather's like if we had no windows in this place by just how much the phone's ringing. And it's because like everyone waits until the time is now, and then they're like, oh, I want to get all these things, and I need my tire worked on, or oh, my boat needs this repair or whatever. Like, we're crazy busy with building boats for the spring. We had guys that were more responsible that brought them in the fall, and so now you're pushed to the end of the list. We're a month and a half out and getting to someone's like a legitimate repair. So that's a big deal. Like, do that stuff in the fall. Like, your spring should just be like a quick double check, but your fall before you put it away is getting the repairs done, getting your axles repacked, getting whatever. So when you get nice weather, like, you can go. You're not going to be waiting on us. So
Cool. Do you prefer a seat with a back, or flat bench seats are quite popular in the Rocky Mountain West as well?
yeah, I'm lazy, so I like yeah, it depends on fisheries. It depends on where you're at. Certain fisheries, you're digging so much harder where you need that to get some more leverage out of it. I know, for example, at the South Fork skiffs, they don't have a back, but the main reason why they don't have a back, why I don't like that boat with the back, is because it's a wider bench with like a foam cushion all the way across, so I can actually shift my body left and right to balance that boat. Because when you have a smaller skiff like that, if something gets off balance, there's sometimes you can't do anything about it. But if you shift your weight 6 inches to the right, then you can do something about it. And I'd rather have 6 inches to the right and still be on a foam cushion than 6 inches to the right and half my body is hanging off of the seat. I'm tall. I've had some lower back problems, just things like that. I really like the open. I like to be able to stick my back right up in there and then get that lumbar support and stuff. So yeah, again, in personal preference, like we see it all here. Like, some guys have been rowing low back seats for decades, and they won't even listen to me when I tell them about how nice the seat is. So
How do you organize the weight in your boat? How do you organize your gear, your coolers?
Yeah, so that was a good question we got online. I forgot to get through too. The rule of thumb is you want most of your weight forward, because if it's in the back and the back end's sinking, pretend this is the transom of the boat, that back end's sinking down, you're rowing against that, so it's plowing. So if you have, for example, you have 3 people in the boat, and it's 2 guys and a wife or whatever, 3 people, 2 people weigh 200 pounds and 1 person weighs 125 pounds. Don't put that person that weighs 125 pounds up in the front. That's, again, just a rule of thumb. Like, if they're a novice angler or it's a husband and he wants his wife to get into fishing and stuff, by all means, like, do it. But that's not going to make the boat perform the best. You want it to be a little bit more nose heavy than back, because then that water is going to flow underneath the boat a lot easier with that back end's lifted up and that transom's not plowing in. And then from there, centered everything as much as possible. So, like, the great thing about our boats is we have a design designated spot for a cooler that's perfectly in the middle of the boat. It's in front of the rower's position. It's behind the front angler. It sits right here. It's not off to the side. You can still walk around it. Because if your boat is offside, and that's kind of back to the very beginning when I was talking about someone saying center up or whatever, like that, it's going to be a huge difference for safety. But then the rower, the rower needs to be comfortable. He needs to be able to make equal strokes. And if the boat's off center, then one's hitting the water and the other one's way out of the water, and he's doing this motion, it's just a nightmare. So a little bit heavier up front. If you're fishing just 2 anglers, maybe take that cooler and throw it in the back, because a better balanced boat's going to be better, but it's not going to be a killer if that's in the front. And that's, you'll really, really see that in some of those traditional designs with a lot of rocker. If you have a lot of weight in the back, it gets super squirrely.
What's the cardinal sin of rowing? Not rowing?
Not rowing. Yeah. What, touching your phone is my, don't, dude, like, don't, yeah. If you're not gonna, because it's just the cardinal sin of not rowing is not rowing in the way like you're physically not rowing in the spot, or you just like refuse to row. Like if you don't row, you don't go. That's
right.
Like you need to put in the effort. Like it's not fair to whoever dropped all the money on the boat to buy it for you to just be like, yeah, I'll go, and just constantly sit up in the front of the boat and reel on fish all day, and he just rows you down the river. Like, that's not why he bought a boat in the first place. He wants to catch fish.
I've also seen a lot of people that try to overexert instead of micro adjust.
Yeah, definitely. It's once you break that tension, you almost get the boat. It's not the correct term, but we'll just use it. Once you get that boat up on plane like you would any other boat, and you break that, man, it doesn't take much to get them to do what they need to do. So just do those micro adjustments and pay attention. Like, don't be. We're all out there to enjoy the scenery and stuff, so definitely take full advantage of it. But don't just constantly be staring up at the rock cliffs and trying to find hieroglyphs or whatever. So.
How do you match oar length with the type of boat that you have?
Man, I'd call the OEM manufacturer. Whoever made that boat, they're going to tell you what they want. It's kind of complicated. It's in a way your oar height your side height versus your beam, which is oarlock to oarlock, and then your draft. Those are the things that go into it. But back to what I discussed earlier, like you want that, the perfect setup is to be so just try it when you're on anchor or whatever, is like pretend you're going to start that stroke. You want your oar handle to be pretty much in the middle where you're going to be able to grab it. You're going to want to pretend like you're going to be pulling back to that lower chest area. And then you want to make sure that the blade, and really just the bare minimum amount of the blade, you don't want the blade and like a foot of shaft down in the water. You just want the blade in the water. And so that's all that it takes, is those little things. And so from there, if you're not getting the right adjustments, you could just put a 1/2-inch riser underneath your oarlock, and that could all that it takes. I'm a taller guy, and so I got to really be cognizant of me raking my knees with the oars. And so even though I may have the right height, I'm still raking my knees. And so that's where I'm going to get into that 1/2-inch riser type thing. But again, call the manufacturer. They're going to tell you it takes 9 foot, 9.5, 8.5. Rafts get a little weird because they're just so different, and a lot of like manufacturers, like Odyssey makes the raft, but they don't make the frame. So NRS made the frame, and so you're going to kind of be a weird situation like that. But yeah, that's kind of rule of thumb. Those things, and figure it out. Find friends with different oars, and find something that feels comfortable for you.
Yep. So, for a while, it was quite popular to have anchors on pulleys.
Yep.
Right? This participant was talking about he continually gets twisting in his pulley with his anchor. Do you continue, like, straighten out the rope? Are there any tips, or do you just go back to the straight line anchor?
I'm actually going to show you a really cool product here that we sell. It's made in Bozeman, Montana. And it's called a Zigco pulley. The Zigco has a swivel built into it. So that's wow. So what happens is we'll pretend my hand's the anchor, right? It goes down, it hits. Can you put it on there real quick? It hits the river bottom and it starts to twist, right? Because it's the river bottom's not just even and your boat, whatever. So now all of a sudden your anchor's tumbling down the river and you're just getting this twist in it. So then you start to pull it back up and your rope's all twisted around itself, and you don't just do it on the. Oh. So this, sorry about that. So this, your rope goes through, there's your pulley, right?
That's very cool.
So that right there is, it's sealed ball bearing system. It works super well. We sell a good amount of them. It's more, that's like a personal preference thing. Obviously, when you do that, you've halved the weight of how much the anchor weighs, right? And so, but you doubled the amount of rope you put out. So if you put out 20 foot of rope with a pulley, now you've put out 40 foot of rope. Personally, being young and dumb, I'd rather just pull the harder weight once and be done with it. But we get a lot of people that are just like, oh, I don't care if it's twice the rope, it's that much easier, and they just pull it. But that Zigco is the option. We sell that, I think it's $79.99 or something like that. It's, again, all CNC parts in Bozeman, Montana. It doesn't come from out of country or anything like that. So that's what we have. A cheaper way to do it too. There's like a carabiner that has a twist on it, but it doesn't work nearly as well. So we sell a lot of those for the pulley.
Those are cool. So we had some participants asking about the layout of your guys' boats, and the Adipose boats are different than the other boats. Can you talk about a little bit of why you have a walk around rower's seat? You've got the rod trays. Like, what makes your guys' boats unique?
Yeah, you kind of just hit it on the head there a little bit. So I'm actually I'll grab the camera and kind of show a little bit. I'll point. So yeah, a big one being our rod trays, right? So that's a 9 foot 7 weight right there. And that's it. All you got to do is lay it down in that tray and it's there. You can put 2 rods per direction. So 2 there, 2 there, 2. So I got 8 rods fully rigged up and ready to go. And then from there, you can see down the walk around. There's no bench to have to step over. And then right there, you got the cooler that sits in that spot. And so you just get so much more functional space. I do a ton of shows all over the country, and I get people that ask all the time, like, oh, is that a 17-foot boat or 18-foot boat? And what it is, it's only 15.4, but we just don't waste any space. For the longest time, there'd be a storage compartment there and a storage compartment there in the rear and the fore and the aft positions of the anglers. But all we did was apply them to the sides of the boat. So you have just as much storage, but you don't have any of that wasted space. And then people love these power pedestals. They work just like an office chair. So raise and lower, spin around, and you can sit down and fish comfortably. And then from there, you can remove the casting braces and so that just comes out. There's just a push button there. Same thing on this side. It's snugged up in there right now, so I'm not messing with it. But you can sit down and fish, get that brace out of your way. So if you're head hunting and trying to get on some picky fish. Like, again, I'm a big guy. If I'm standing up in the middle, if I'm standing up in the front of the boat and I'm casting a 6.5 foot shadow over top of the water, and then I got a 9 foot rod in my hand, like, I'm spooking fish from 50 feet away versus sitting down, getting a little bit farther back in the boat and sitting, raising that seat up. Now I'm at a much more reasonable height. I don't need my legs to cast. And so I can cast just as well. And now I'm getting sub 30 foot, which I'm way more accurate at sub 30 foot. So you got those picky fish, or you just got that one fish you're aiming for out of a whole pod. You can drop the fly right in the spot and be good to go. So that's kind of the quick, like, elevator speech of like what we do different than others. Yeah. Components, durability, a lot of things we do also, that kind of top of the line stuff. Did I lose you, Mike?
Sorry, I was on mute. Is there a motor recommendation for your guys' skiff and people that want to use, like, you know, the South Fork of the Snake and a lot of rivers here, we utilize small 3.3s, 2.5s, 3.5 horsepowers. Is there something that fits your guys' boats for that bill?
Yeah, so we're rated for a 10 horsepower motor. Realistically, you don't need anything over a 6. 4 to 6 is about the sweet spot. You're at some point, you're never gonna get up on plane like a power boat, and so you just add more weight and more power, and the boat just does a longer wheelie, and it gets harder to control. And so with that 4 to 6 hours, that's horsepower range, that's that sweet spot where you can kind of manage and just get where you need to go. You're keeping your weight down, and the boat moves very, very good that way. That's what I recommend for the gas range. And then guys will use 55-pound thrust motors and stuff like that. Each one has pros and cons. Obviously, electric's quiet, but you're dealing with batteries, charging batteries, things like that. Gas, super simple, dump it in, you're on your way.
Very cool. Yeah, that's all the Q&As that I have here. We went over the boat, the pulleys, maintenance, you know, any of these other ones I think were covered through your extensive and comprehensive presentation and talks about everything like that. So if nobody else has anything, I'll close it out for the evening. I'll follow up with everybody with an email tomorrow. We have this webinar recorded. I'll post it on YouTube. I'll include a link to that email or to that YouTube link so you can watch the webinar if you missed it or you had to leave or you had technical difficulties or anything like that. So definitely check it out. The Adipose Boatworks guys and Justin, they have offered us a great deal. If you're interested in any oars, any boat buckles, spare tires, any of those types of things associated with your boat or your trailer, they're doing a 20% off discount. I'll include Justin's email in that email follow-up with everybody with the video as well. And if you're interested in any life jackets or throw bags or any of those other smaller boat accessories to check the boxes of the checklist that Justin was talking about, those things that you need in your boat, you can get those at WorldCast Anglers or take a look at the NRS website, and we're offering 20% off of any boat accessories at WorldCast Anglers. So there's no excuse not to be ready for the summer floating season ahead. We've had Justin go through everything that you need on how to be safe and cognizant and aware on the water, and we're offering some great discounts for all you guys to do that. If you're interested in one of Adipose's boats, you know, definitely reach out to Justin. I've had an Adipose Boatworks boat for a long time. I've rowed a lot of different boats and utilized a lot of different boats via WorldCast Anglers, and it's my favorite, and it's the reason I've held on to it longer than any boat I've ever owned. So the proof is in the pudding, and the proof is in the product with these guys. So that's why we asked them to be part of our webinar, as well as being great friends of ours. So if you're interested in a boat, definitely reach out to those guys too. And we can't say thanks enough to you, Justin, for taking your time, for going through this, and going through your checklists and policies and procedures of getting on the water safely, and educating everybody and sharing those with everyone. So a big thanks to you for taking the time and helping us out.
Yeah, thank you. I definitely appreciate you guys asking me to do this. One thing I'm going to add real quickly. So obviously everyone knows the world's kind of crazy right now, COVID going on, and a lot of people getting sick and a lot of people out of work. Huge proportion of our sales and our stuff through Adipose to guides. Most guides all across the country right now cannot guide, and there's going to be a while before they can guide safely and have a full season. So we are actually raffling off a brand new, it's not built yet, you get to choose, 2020 boat trailer package, like pretty much exactly what you're seeing here, minus a few things. And we're selling tickets for 25 bucks a piece or 5 for 100. We can't sell them online, so you have to call the shop at 406-992-1519. And so we're probably going to be doing the drawing here in the next few weeks. We were going to do it on May 1st, but the COVID hasn't gone away, and so we want to raise some more money. We have a very lofty goal of 50 grand, but I think right now we're around 25, so we got to pump those numbers up. And so let's, if you guys want to support us, and all the money that we raise from the raffle, everything, not even covering our costs of administration or boat or any of it, we're turning around and we're donating it back to every single guide that's rowing one of our boats or has one of our boats on order. So that's roughly 300 plus guides out there that have one of our boats that we're gonna just literally cut a check to and show them a little support, and let them know we're here with them. And so if you guys can help us out, then that'd be great. And in the end, someone's going to win a brand new boat. So it's
awesome. It's awesome, man. Thanks for your guys' generosity and support of the outfitting community. I'll include all that information in the follow-up email, and be on the lookout via social media, for more information about that. So yeah, why not support the outfitting community, win a chance to win a new boat, support jobs in Montana, made products in Montana jobs, and outfitting jobs everywhere. It's a win-win for all of us. So thank you guys for doing that.
Definitely.
Well, that's all I have. Once again, thanks again, Justin. Thanks again for your cameraman.
Yeah,
Aaron. Thanks, Aaron.
Back there.
Absolutely.
Thanks for doing a great job. We appreciate everything that you guys do and the time that you took to do this. So once again, thanks.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, have a good night.
Yeah.
Take care.